What this video is about is this little folding table, and that's Holly on the left. She always liked to photobomb. But we went to a party at a friend's house the other day, and we social distanced, and I got tired of using my cooler as a table because every time I needed to get into the cooler, I had to take everything off and no place to put it. So this is what I came up with. It's really a work between the Maslow and my 3D printer. It folds up to about 2.5 inches. However, the back part there where it has the bent leg, that actually is about 2 inches further out. So it's probably 4.5 inches maximum then too. So, and I kept the length pretty good. So I can actually, when I'm carrying it by my side, the legs aren't really hitting the ground and all that type of stuff then too. So it's made of 7 ply plywood. So it's going to hold together really well on that too. So how it attaches itself together on the swinging leg, it's got this little aluminum projection that actually fits in that little hole I drilled there too. And what you see, those magnets, those are opposing magnets that attract each other basically. And so when it gets close to that, it snaps and hold it together then too. So it's not too hard to put together. And I went through a couple different designs, but I was really impressed at how stable this thing is. Now, at the end of the video here, I'll put my references up there too, because you can actually download all the pieces from Thingiverse and print them up then too. There's just 3 different types of pieces then too. So, but anyway, it's what I needed. And here's a video of how I designed this using the new user interface with Fusion 360, a wonderful program. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I did a simple tutorial in using the new Fusion 360 user interface, and that was almost too simple. It was just not even making a functional piece. It was just using it for how to make circles and squares and things like that. And that did compare the Maslow post processor versus the GRBL. But I really wanted to make something a little more functional. And so this table I showed you earlier, this is what this is all about. This is how I designed the tabletop here too. So I'm just going to run through the step by step here too. And first off, let's go up and right click the unsave and say new component. And over here it's going to be tabletop. So nice and simple. Okay, so that's going to be my tabletop right here. It's active. You can see the little eye is filled in here too. Now it's always going to, if I go up here, it's going to say, okay, what plane are you going to build this on? So I like selecting the front. It works very well for the Maslow. It's like looking at the plywood right now. So I'm going to choose that plane. Okay, and now before I get too far down the road here, I'm going to add some parameters. Plus to add here, it's actually height. It's going to be 20. Parameters are really powerful. I designed something wrong here a week or so ago and was able to just go back to the parameters and change it, and it changed all the pieces I had, which is great. I didn't have to redesign things. Top width is going to be 18. The bottom width is going to be 14. Plus again, and you, like I said, you can go back and change them, rename them, whatever here too. Space is going to be 1.5, and one more is hand. Oops, 2.75. Okay, that's my parameters, and really, yeah, the few seconds it took for me to fill those in, you'll get that back. Okay, so now I'm going to just choose a line here, and again, I don't really care too much about the dimensioning right here. And again, this thing wants me to keep on every time I click, so I'm going to right click and say cancel because I only want 2 lines right now. And I'm going to go back to line here and draw this one over here. Going to snap the line, right click again, cancel. Okay, there's my start of my shape here too. Now I'm going to set D for dimension. Click down the line. I'm going to drag it over here. That's going to be my height. Okay, and it actually scaled it off, of course. So I'm going to pan this down, zoom out. Panning is panning. Okay, and now I'm going to hit my, I guess, a D dimension again. This is going to be my top height, but I am lazy, so I'm not going to actually redesign or design this whole piece. I'm going to do half of it and mirror the other half. So I'm going to set top width divided by 2 because I only want one half of it. I'm mirroring it. Same thing, dimension down here. I'm going to dimension this one down here. This is bottom. Width divided by 2. Okay, so there. Now I can finish this line. Click, click. It's going to change color when it snaps on, which means I've got something. I have a body. Okay. So what I need to do next now, I'm going to just add a construction line. Now I can click X or I can just click on this little box right here too. And a construction line, that's just like a pencil mark. Okay. Again, same type of thing. I'm going to right click and cancel the next one. I'm hit D for dimension. Drag this over here, and that's going to be space. Okay, enter. So that's going to put it right where I want it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. These measurements aren't terribly critical, but not too bad. So now I'm going to get my construction line off. I want a real line, and I'm going to drag this over here. And again, I don't care right now how big because I'm going to D dimension. I'll bring this up. This is going to be hand. And I already had hand half how I set that up originally, so that's only going to be half of it. And again, D for dimension again. I'm going to space, enter. Okay, that is it. Now I can actually scroll this back out here. Now that's the body I want. Okay, but again, it's not finished. I don't like these sharp corners, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and grab this fillet tool here, and I'm just going to click that corner. And the first one is going to be 2 inches. I kind of like that. Now you're going to get a warning down here, constraint, because it had a different, it had a kind of set corner, and I'm overwriting that. So let's go back here, fillet tool down here in this corner. 2 inches is a little bit too much for that corner. I like a little bit less one. Oops, so 1.5. Okay, enter. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I don't like where I'm gripping my hands in here. And instead of 0.3, I'm going to do 0.5. And I'm going to do the same fillet down here for this one. It somehow chooses it for you with what you think it is, the shapes. Okay, so 0.5 is what I'm going to use here as well. So now I'm done with half my piece. If I go back up here and create, I can mirror this and just finish the other side up here. So I like selecting the mirror line first. That's kind of like how the piece is folded. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to go up and select this next one, drag across the whole thing. Okay, and if I like what it looks like, I say okay. Now I got extra lines here I don't need. I don't need this fold line, so to speak, anymore. So I'm going to right click on that and delete it. I'm also going to click on this one, delete it. And let's see if it did delete both sides of that. Delete. Okay, there's my delete. So that's my piece. I'm going to stop this sketch. Now I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to press pull. Okay, I'm going to go 1/2 inch, 0.5. Now again, you can do new body. This is actually having to do with primitives, and you can add and select and things like that. But right now it's just going to be a new body, real simple. I don't care about the distance, which way it extrudes, up or down or symmetrical. And so I'm going to say okay. And now I'm going to go down to my orbit tool, and you can see it's got some depth to it now. It's a 1/2 inch. And by the way, earlier up here on my setups, I actually set up for my what it looks like, and that's cherry plywood. Now I'm going to stop 1 second here though, because if how you see this, let's go back in the front here, how this is set up. This is set up how it's going to cut on your Maslow, with the grain going vertically here, and if you want it horizontally, well, let's go back a second here in design here. Select all that here too. I'm going to move copy, and I can just rotate it around there to 90 degrees, hit OK. I'm going to pan this thing back over here. Okay, so that way if you're actually having your plywood with the grain horizontal, um, that's what you can do. So I'm going to leave it set like this. This is how I'm probably going to cut it. And again, if I wanted to, I could just copy this piece and make another one when I moved it too. In fact, I'll show you that one. Let's go back here. If I click it into move copy, if I click create a copy, that will just make two pieces when I move it. So, but I'm not going to do that. So right now we're done with that. Okay, so now we're going to take this over to manufacturer, what they used to call this as CAM. Okay, so we're going to do a setup here, a new setup. It's going to be the machine I'm going to select, 3-axis generic. Milling, I'm going to use that. I'm not worried about this. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later here too. The body, of course, with only one piece, it doesn't really make any difference. It will just default to it. If you have several pieces, it will, and you don't select that, it will give you an error or warning actually. So the stock, I don't really care about this. The offsets, I leave them as default. Now I can actually give this a name right here, or give it a name later. If I'm all done, I say OK. Okay. So now I'm going to go up in my 2D contour. Now you got all these to fill in before you hit OK. Otherwise, it's going to generate an error on here too. The tool, click on that, and now I'm going to do milling, of course. It's kind of a filter, and I'm going to flat end mill. And there's a 1/4 inch flat end mill I can use. Okay. Of course, I don't care about the flood. We don't have any coolant on Maslow. Now, of all these things down here, for what I'm using for the Maslow, it's the only thing I really have to have here is this cutting feed rate. That's actually the speed of your router traveling over your plywood. Okay. So I'm going to choose that. It's going to change a couple other things when I do that. But again, that's 510. It's really close to 20 inches a minute. So I'm the spindle, all this stuff, ramp speed, all this I don't care about. Okay. So the next one on the contour, I can just going to select these things and click them, and be wary, be cognizant about how you select them, because I selected this one inside first because I want this one cut inside first. I don't want to cut the outside and then work on the inside here too. So I'm done with that. Stock contours I don't care about. Tabs I do care about. Now I don't like it automatically comes up to 1.5, and I like a little higher tab. Sometimes I'm not exactly that great on getting my heights right, and so if I have a little bit bigger tab, it holds it, especially on plywood. I've had tabs rip out sometimes too. Now I don't like by distance, I do by points, because then since it's looking right at me, I can just go through here and just select the points I want. It really comes into a play when you have circles here too, because sometimes on a circle, if you do it by distance, you might only get one tab in a small circle, and that's just not going to hold. You're going to get chatter, and it's going to just tear out. I like tabs before the corners, not through them. You can if you want, but it's the way it works in too. So I'm done with that. Tabs, and I got my height almost like 2.5 millimeter. Rest machining, wrap toolpath, tool orientation, don't care. Okay, heights. Now on this one here, I like looking at it from the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom here too. Now the thing I do not like at selected contours, on the bottom height, I'm going to choose this one from the stock top. Okay, and you can see if I scroll this in, it's a little bit too high. So bottom height, I'm just going to raise that up a little bit. If it's touching, it's good. I can go with that. The rest I leave. Okay, it's a little bit higher on the stock top, that's perfectly fine. Clearance and retract height I leave. Okay, the passes here, The passes is where you click on preserve order. Now how you selected your contour to get cut, this will keep it as you selected it. Okay. Now this the left climbing mill versus conventional. This is where you select which direction you want it to move around. So I'm gonna do right conventional milling here too. I'm not do multiple. I'm not doing repeat finish. Roughing passes has something to do with more of the outside. What I do want to do though is the multiple depths. I just why it shrunk. I just contracted that so you can see the bottom of this one here too. So now the maximum roughing stiffness step down. I want this to be a little bit higher here too. So that's usually 2.5, well 2.5 millimeter on that. I roughly the vinyl. I'm not doing a finished vinyl order by island. That's if you have a lot of pieces. You know, instead of going all over at one height, you'll finish each one then too. Stock to leaf, smoothing, feed optimization. Don't care. Okay, so now I do keep the tool down. Sometimes it'll raise up and down all the time. This does not mean what I thought it used to mean, but yeah, this actually keeps the tool down. It just speeds things up a little bit here too. I'm not doing lead in. I'm not doing lead out. Okay. No ramp, of course, and I'm going to say okay. Now it's going to crank it through here, and I have no warnings over here. This will be yellow or red if there's a warning. So let's scroll this back out here, and I'm going to tilt this back up with my orbit tool. And you can see right here, you can actually see if I scroll in here where the tabs are, and they look just fine. And again, if you had to change, you can go back out. You can just go right back in and edit this thing too. So it's really really no big deal here too. So let's go back to the orbit this around, and let's go ahead and simulate this. Okay, and so go. It's going to cut the way I want it to cut. It's going to cut my inside pieces first, and it's going to move and cut the outside pieces and the number of passes I wanted then too. So yeah, okay, I'm just going to speed this up, take it to the end here too, and say okay. I'm going to close that. Okay, if I'm happy with the way things look, I'm going to go back in and right click on this again. I'm going to say post process. Now I already got GRBL selected on here. I've actually used the Maslow too, and I found for 2D milling absolutely no difference at all. I'm going to unclick this. I have not downloaded the newest. You can actually click on review the G code when you're done, but I'm not going to. That's going to be beyond the scope of this little tutorial. So anyway, I'm going to hit post if I know where it's going to go, what program I'm going to use for the post processor here too. And I don't know if these turn red or not, but I sure like a green board. So I'm going to hit post. It's going to take it right there. I'm going to say T-top right here. I'm going to say T-top 2 since this is a second video. I'm going to set save. Now you take your T-top G code, take that right to ground control, and it's going to cut that piece just as you're looking at it, just like this and two. Now I could, if I wanted to, when I was actually making my components, I actually could put my legs in here too and everything and actually put them all together and not have all 7 pieces being cut and generated this. And that's a nice way to nest them together. But for optimizing my plywood use, I found out if I cut my legs and nest all those 6 together versus, and then I'll just find the place where I want to cut this top at too. So anyway, I hope that helps. Even though it looks like it's changed a lot, it really has not changed a whole lot. So still a wonderful program. So all right. Okay, this is the second video of my folding table. This is where I build the or design the bent leg and the straight leg. You're going to need 3 of each of those. Now I've already, to save some time here, I've already got up here and got some of my parameters set up here too. Get using them because they will save you a lot of time here too. So let's go ahead and just get a new component here. And even though it's a new component, I'm actually having 6 things here. I'm just going to call them legs. Okay. And again, it's going to ask me where I want to build this, and so I always say let's choose this plane, the front. That's like looking at the Maslow then too. So now I'm going to first just for the circle here too. And again, you don't have to worry too much about the distancing drawing and work on your fine motor skills, because you can just go with your parameters, width, okay. There's my 2 inches. So let's go ahead and pan this over. And now I need to kind of make it easy on myself, so I'm just going to actually do a 2-point rectangle here, and it's hopefully going to snap right at the top right there and right at the bottom right here. And I'm going to bring this over here, and okay, I got it 2 inches. I could have done the distance to dimension it too, but that's going to be fine just by drawing it like that. I am going to dimension though. This is going to be my hole space between the holes. Whole distance, I should say. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll this out again, pan this over, and now let's complete this. Snap in the middle. Again, D for distance. Drag that up. Width. Okay, that's really my first piece. Now I know I got extra lines here. Don't worry about those things. When you extrude it out, it'll ignore them too. So, but now I have this selected. I'm gonna just lift it up here from the bottom and drag my left mouse on here. And that's gonna select everything. Now I'm gonna right click it and I'm gonna move copy. Now if I just want to move it, I don't click this, but since I want to create a copy and just copy and paste this, I can just drag this down and I'll say okay. Now I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to copy this over here and move copy and grab another one here, and I'm going to move. I better scroll this and pan this before I run out of space here. Okay, so let's get some more space here so I can see this and bring this back up a little bit. That really is my 3 legs. Okay, now I could just keep that going and take it the process to the manufacturing here too, but I'm going to actually nest all 6 of them together here too. And I think for just speed of things, I'm just going to go ahead and modify this one right now here too. So, but I think what's going to help me a little bit, if I take a construction line here, oops, I've done that before. I always got to select line. Okay. So I'm just going to take this line up here, specify next point. I'm going to cancel that. It always wants to keep on drawing. I'm going to de-dimension this one. And I think I will 1 inch. I'm going to have 2 inches here. So that's the width. Okay. Now that's going to be my center point to put my next circle on. Because I'm going to eliminate this part when I finally get the new one designed. So let's go back to the circle, snap right to that point, and a D dimension, of course. Bring that up. Width, which is the width of everything I have. And there's my extra one I have right now too. So now I need to draw some lines here, and that's actually sometimes the trickier part I found out. It's not really crucial when it comes to exactly where it starts and where it ends here too. So, but I'm going to, it's just, well, actually what's going to help me here a little bit, I don't want to draw a line where one of my shaft collars are. So I'm going to use this construction line, and I'm going to put in something like 1.25 inches construction line. That's going to say don't draw the line over that, because I know that my 3D printed shaft collar is going to be in that space. So construction line's off. Let's just go ahead and grab a line here. I am going to zoom this out hopefully so I can get a little better look at things here too. Let's go back here and grab a line. Okay, and there's that sign you see there. That's that tangent, okay, which is nice because I know now I have a tangent to that point, to that circle right here too. So now I'm going to grab another one here. And again, this isn't that crucial, because I can actually do a constraint and make okay, tangent line here too. Now that's what's nice here too. These are parallel constraints. So I want this line to be parallel with that one, and boom, there it's parallel. Okay. Now I can get rid of these extra things here. Let's cancel out of here. Let's delete this. I can delete this. Okay, and I can probably just drag this line back, and I'm going to undo that because I raised it up a little bit. Well, it won't really make any difference personally. I'll show you why. You can actually have these extra lines here too. So let's go ahead and back and well, I do not like that. So let's just get rid of that. Well, let's undo that. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to ignore it. Alrighty, let's go back to pan this out of here, pan this over. I'm going to cancel everything here. I'm going to drag this, and I'm going to move copy. Again, I'm going to create a copy. I'm going to take this down. And again, I'm just completely ignoring that extra little line because I can. Okay, so I'm just going to say finish sketch here too. Now I'm going to hopefully pan this back out here. Move this all over. And again, I'm only doing 4 of these. I could copy and paste 2 more, but for the time and speed here, I didn't really care too much about the extra here too. So I'm going to select these, and let's press pull. We're going to say 5 inch, 0.5 inches. Okay, alrighty. You can see all that extra work I was going to have to do, I don't need to do it. Okay, now you're going to notice there's no holes here. Okay, I'm not drilling the holes with the Maslow. I use a Forstner bit, it's really clean, there's no tear out, and I usually just drill one to make a pattern for the rest of them. So it makes it real simple here too. So since I'm done with that, you know, I probably should save this, but this is just a little video I'm making here too. I'm not, if you're making it, please save it here. But I'm taking this over to the manufacturer now. Okay. And again, let's get in the setups up here, the new setup here too. We're going to say it's going to be the generic 3-axis milling. The models here, I'm actually going to select all 4 of these models here too. Otherwise, you're going to generate a warning saying, "Hey, I got nothing selected here too." So I don't care about this right now. I will take care of that a little bit later in the setup. And all right, I don't really care too much about this at all here too in the post process. I'm just going to call this one T-legs. Okay, so now I'm up here to my 2D contour, which I'm going to select then too. Now again, like I said before, you have to have all of these things filled out before you hit OK, otherwise it's going to generate an error here too. So let's go in the start here to the tool. I'm always going to do milling here. Kind of slow here, flat end mill. This is a filter, bring you up what you want. Okay, the flood, of course, there's nothing on Maslow about that unless you're drinking a beer or watching it. Down here, the cutting feed rate, that's the only thing I care about down here. And again, I try to be close to 20 inches per minute, and that's 508, but I just use 510 here too. And the rest of these things, I really don't care. Don't hit OK. All right. The contours here, I'm just going to select them. Okay, now again, how you select these, you can preserve this order later on, and it'll cut them in that pattern. However, if I'm going to click on this arrow here, and you can see it's going to now cut on the inside of the line. But I don't want that. I want to cut it on the outside of the body here too. But you can select what you want then too. Stock contours, don't care. Tabs, I do care. And again, you can do by distance and probably be fine here. But you can do by points. I'm just going to back it off a little bit because that is a lot of tabs to clean up here too. But again, one of the things I like about doing by points, then you don't get the tabs around the corners here too. And then you can just click where you want and you don't have to be cleaning up on a corner. And it's simply by doing that, you just click off by on points, it gets rid of them, and then you put whatever you want for your tabs right here. Okay, so I'm just going to make a few for here, but again, usually I have 6 or so. I don't like them around the corners. It's a harder place to clean up sometimes. Um, anyway, you get the idea. Okay, tabs. Okay, the rest of these things here too, I don't care about rest machining, wrap toolpath, tool orientation. However, on the tab height, one thing I should say here, I like going up about 2.5 millimeters, especially when I'm using plywood sometimes, because sometimes they'll rip out and it really makes no difference cleaning them up then too. So I like the tab height a little bit higher than too. So, and again, you can go crazy putting your tabs on here as much as you want. So the next is going to be on your heights, and that's something I do care about. The best way is just look at this from the bottom. And on the bottom here too, I like my bottom height not from selected contour, but I take that off of the stock top. And if I scroll up in this, you can see it's a little bit lower than it should be. So let's just bring this up here. We can see the whole thing here too. And I'm just going to raise that up a little bit. And so just as long as it's touching the bottom. I don't care about the retract stock top. I leave that default then too. So on the passes here too, this is how you can, on the sideways or the left climb milling, this is the direction of the rod traveling then too. So you can leave it left climb milling or right conventional. You can try, see which works the best for you here too. The tolerance I don't care about. Multiple finish passes, no. Repeat finishing passes, no. Preserve order, if I want to make sure that it preserves the order that I selected the pieces, click that. Roughing passes, that's clearing it from the outside in. The multiple depths though, I do want. Okay, and usually, I know they say about half the diameter, but I've been using 2.5, something around there, and that's been working real fine for me too. So I'm going to contract this a little bit here too. Order by islands, if you have lots of pieces then too like this, it will actually handle them each individual ones instead of cutting them all a little bit. And basically I don't care about, and rough is the final, I leave that on there because it's the final pass. Stock to leave, smoothing, feed optimization, I don't care. Okay. Linking, okay. I do keep the tool down. I've had some places that will raise it up and raise it down, and it takes a lot of time here too. So I allow the rapid retract here too. I don't use lead in and I don't use lead out. Okay. Ramp, of course, I do not use. That's a problem. And I don't really care about the positions, the pre-drill. Okay. So I'm okay. Say okay. It's going to crank it through. Now let's scroll this back so we can kind of see what's happening here a little bit. And I'm going to hit my orbit tool down here and tilt this so I can see. And what's nice about the Fusion, I can just simulate this here too. Hit go and it will tell me exactly what direction it's going to cut and what order it's going to cut in here too. I'm just going to jump ahead here too. It's going to spend all day in the simulation here too. So what's nice about this too though, you can actually take a good close look at your tabs and think that, oh yeah, well the tab's a little bit higher, a little bit lower there. In fact, mine may be a little bit too high. So let's go ahead and close out of here if I can. All right, close. I had to click there too. Okay, now I can go back and I'm just going to hit edit. And it's going to back up here in the passes. Okay, the heights. Here's my bottom height again, and I'm going to say it's a little bit too high. Don't know what the deal was there. And again, I'm going to take a look at this right from the bottom directly on. I just lowered it down a little bit. I'm going to say okay, and that should take it back where I want it then too. So once you're done with all that and you're happy with it, just go up here in 2D contour, hit post process, and I'm using GRBL. And for the 2D milling, I've actually found no difference between the post processor, the Maslow post processor, and the GRBL here too. So I'm just going to use that. You know where it's going to go to your output folder here too. I don't know if these things turn red. I do like green. If you want to take a look at the G code when you're done, click this one. It'll open up your G code viewer then too. And if you're happy, hit post. That's going to send it exactly to where you're going to be here. This is T legs. I'm going to save it. You go in the T legs, you go in that folder, you take the things and plug it right into where your ground control or whatever you're using to find it, and it will cut it exactly as it looks on that screen then too. So anyway, I hope this helps. Wonderful program these things are, and I've really had a lot of fun. And like I said before, the Fusion 360 just looks a little bit differently, but boy, it functions just as good as it ever has then too. So anyway, have a good day.